We're joined by civil rights activist DeRay McKesson to discuss some new developments in a story about Sandra Bland, who died in police custody. This was 4 years ago after a very controversial traffic stop. The death itself in custody was ruled by the authorities to be a suicide. What's new tonight is a video which her family says was improperly withheld, and it was the very video she took on her own cell phone during that very controversial arrest.
Get out of the car now.
Why am I being apprehended? You trying to give me a ticket for your failure?
Get out of the car.
Why am I being apprehended? You just opened my car door. You just opened my car door. So you threatening to drag me out of my own car.
Get out of the car.
And then you gonna stun me?
I will light you up. Get out.
Wow.
Now.
Wow.
Get out of the car.
For a failure to signal. You doing all of this for a failure to signal.
Get over there.
Right, yeah. Yeah, let's take this to court. Let's do it.
Go ahead.
For a failure to signal. Yep, for a failure to signal.
Get off the phone.
On my school.
Get off the phone.
I'm not on the phone. I have a right to record. This is my property. This is my property. Sir?
Put your phone down right now.
That's the new video. Walk us through, especially for folks who haven't followed this story, but part of the reason why videos get buried is so they won't make the news later. We want to cover this. Walk us through, from your view, what matters here.
It is wild to hear that officer say, "I will light you up." And remember that during the case, during the perjury charges, what the officer said is that he was afraid. He was the one who feared for his life. That is why he was so aggressive when he walked up to the car. And what we see in this video is that if anybody had the right to be afraid, it was Sandra. He ripped the door open. He said he was going to light her up. You have to remember, too, that she was detained in the Waller County Jail. The Waller County Jail actually doubles as a sheriff's department. I was out there. It's a very small place. And they said that she committed suicide. And again, having been out there at the jail, it's a pretty small building for something like that to happen where nobody hears anything. The perjury charges were later dropped against the officer because they said that they didn't have enough evidence to convict him. And what you see today is it seems like there's a lot of evidence that he lied, that he actually wasn't fearful at all. So this calls into question how many people knew this video existed, how many people participated in what seems to be a cover-up, and how widespread is this across the country?
Well, and you just raised something that's so important that we've talked about before, which is, what does the system, the prosecutorial system, think about how jurors will react? And the system says, well, it is very difficult to get a full random jury to turn against an officer's testimony. And that may be true, but as you just put it, what if that officer is on tape, acting and speaking in a manner that does not, to the reasonable observer, evince fear?
Yeah, he said, "I will light you up." And, you know, when we zoom out, we think about police violence that results in death is normally what we talk about, right? So a third of all the people killed by a stranger in this country is actually killed by a police officer. So these incidents are not as random as people would like to believe.
Say that again.
So a third of all the people killed by a stranger in this country is actually killed by a police officer. H.R. Dagg did this incredible study that helped us understand and quantify those numbers for the first time. But you see time and time again, you think about Oscar Grant. Just recently with the Oscar Grant, the killing of Oscar Grant, BART just released the data that showed, or the investigation notes that showed, that the officer called him the M-word, that it was clear that he was not reaching for a taser, he was actually reaching for the gun. And just like in Sandra's case, there was a system of people who participated in a cover-up. So when you think about these incidents, they are not isolated. They're institutions that actually protect them.
Right. I think that's so important. The Grant case, as you mentioned, and 2020 candidates have been weighing in on the new Bland video and on these cases. It was an issue that was in the news a lot before Donald Trump changed a lot of the conversation. But the Grant case was one where, again, you say it was a transparency law that released the information that basically notified us, these are some of the candidates weighing in on this case, that, oh, as you said, that officer used the N-word in that police interaction, which I do think, I mean, speaking as a reporter and an attorney, I do think could impact how a jury understood the situation. Let me play for you as well the Bland family, which did get a settlement. This is a case that I do think is mixed in the legal part, because the officer, as you say, on the one hand, was not ultimately brought to trial. On the other, the pressure did force him out of law enforcement forever. The family was ultimately given a settlement that they accepted, so there were some steps. But here's why they say it's not enough today. Take a look.
Let's go.
What it does, without a shadow of a doubt, validate is that Brian Encinia's behavior in the field, his lack of judgment, and his inability to really de-escalate that situation was what was the impetus behind why she was detained and ultimately why she died in police custody.
It's a reminder that the more power institutions have, the more questions we should ask. And with this, it's like when this happened, do you remember people were like, well, you know, he was afraid, he was doing his job, she got arrested. And what we find from here is that this is a reminder that we need more accountability mechanisms, we need more checks and balances with the police, not less. And it is not really any accountability that the worst thing, the only consequence he got was that he can never be in law enforcement again. And they can't enforce that across the country. He just can't be in law enforcement in that state. You know, he can very well go somewhere else and be a police officer. And that's just not real accountability. If any other institution had people that did that, we would call for more. If teachers were engaging in misconduct like this, we would be livid. But when police do it, we're just like, you know, this is okay.
DeRay McKesson, with a lot of important details, we'll stay on these stories and be coming back to you on. I appreciate you being on the beat tonight. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.